around it just begun.
Okay, I'm going to kick off. I'm only going to be 15 minutes. I know you guys have probably sat through a massive long presentation this morning. I'm surprised everyone's here actually. This is great. Thank you for coming. My name's Amit Kotecha. I'm the head of marketing for Europe at Quantcast. And for those of you that don't know, on the screen right now is a hip-hop star, a late hip-hop star called Notorious B.I.G. And there's two reasons for him being there. The first is he sang a song called Mo Money, Mo Problems many years ago, so I kind of played on that a little bit. And the second is I'm a big hip-hop fan, so any chance I get to put something in there, I always will. I came in this morning and one of the staff thought I was going to rap. It's quite funny. But I'm not going to rap. The reason why I've chosen this topic is because throughout this whole year, there's this kind of trend going on where every time I talk to an advertiser or anyone about our programmatic or real-time bidding space, they kind of say that they can't keep up. There's lots of technologies out there, and there's all these new problems that we keep creating for ourselves, and technology keeps solving them. So we're going to discuss some of those today. So in order to actually figure out where we are today, I thought I'd give you a bit of a history lesson. Most people have seen slides like this before, but this is a timeline of the advertising world. From about 1650, when the printing press was first launched, all the way through to about 1970, when TV was the biggest channel online. And the key to note here is that it took 498 years, to be precise, to create 8 channels to deliver all media across all channels. And actually in the UK back then, we only had one commercial TV station, which was ITV. So if you were a media planner buyer in those times, you would kind of split your budgets between all of those 8 and you'd deliver the media. If you fast forward to today, there's one thing that's changed. It's quite a big thing that's changed. It's not only changed our lives as the advertising industry, it's changed consumers' lives, because digital and the internet means that there's so many more choices. Technology has actually given us a lot more choices. And these are only a few. This ranges back from like 20 years ago when we had banner ads. The first banner ad was 20 years ago, all the way through to search, to social, mobile, all the fun stuff that I'm sure you'll hear about today. And the reason why I mentioned this earlier is that consumers are using all these devices and they're kind of snacking on content whenever they can, and we as advertisers are trying to use technology, running to that beat all the time, trying to target them in the best way possible. And there's this word that I want to focus on for a little bit, because it's called Utopia. And we kind of, as an advertising industry, we talk about this a lot. We're very guilty as Quantcast of talking about this, which is the right ad, right time, right place, right context, right content, all that stuff. And if you look up the definition of utopia, it's this perfect world, right? And we're always striving for this perfect world. And our industry is pretty obsessed with this. And it's not just the industry. I used to work at the IAB. I worked there for a very long time, about 5 years, and this was the first article I got published, which I was really proud of, and it was titled Interactivity as Advertising Utopia. If you fast forward a few more years, the first time I wrote about programmatic advertising, I've highlighted it, basically said the same thing, right? So I was kind of talking about this for a very long time. It's not just me, by the way, I'm not that sad, but it's the industry. The IAB have a whole website that's dedicated to this thing. Literally, you can go on there and find out about what actual targeted advertising is. And I was at a conference earlier this year. I took a picture of this slide because I love it. It's a standard hockey stick curve, but it's scale on the x-axis, efficiency on the y, and then you've got right at the top, you've got advertising effectiveness, and in brackets, utopia. So without drilling into this in a bit more detail, in too much detail, the reason why I've created this presentation is because of this guy. There's this guy called Kevin Kelly, who's the co-founder of Wired, really intelligent guy. He wrote a book called What Technology Wants. Everyone should read it, I think it's brilliant. But he wrote this article earlier this year and actually said that he was talking about technology and said, technology is never going to achieve utopia. Even though we want to live in this perfect world and we want technology to achieve it for us, it's never going to achieve it, because every time we try and solve a problem with tech, we create as many problems as we solve. And I thought that was quite a profound statement. Okay. I thought that was quite a profound statement. If you bring that to advertising, it's kind of true, right? Because if you think about how we delivered advertising even 5 years ago, it was pretty horrible, right? A publisher would call an agency or an advertiser, they would send a physical I/O. It would take about a week to get an ad onto a website, to be trafficked, and all this stuff used to go on. So many people were involved, it was horrible. And the targeting that was applied back then was kind of reach, right? It was just a broadcast model where you would go out and try and reach as many people, maybe hit a frequency cap, and it was the same kind of model as we were used to in traditional advertising. And we've kind of changed that through the use of tech, and we're going to talk about actually some of the problems that we've also created for ourselves over time. But the key here is that if you look at this chart in a few years' time, actually now, everything's moving towards technology and digital. We're listening to our radios on digital, through digital radio. We're watching more online video, skyboxes, Virgin boxes, all connected to the internet. Everything's going to move towards digital, and everything's going to move towards being delivered as an advertising medium through technology. And there's one thing that technology and the internet's created a lot of. There's plenty of quotes out there that look like this, but I chose this one because Cisco, one of our funding partners, but also spoke at our conference. They provide the backbone to the internet. They kind of know what they're talking about when it comes to this stuff. But they said we're creating more data every 10 minutes than we did in all of human history as of 2008. Just insane amounts of information. And this is the key here, is that actually all of this data that's being created, most of it means nothing if you don't make sense of it. And for a very long time, we were actually not using the data that was available to us. And I'm going to give you an example of a company that's doing it really, really well, way outside of our space. And the reason why I find these guys fascinating is because they're using loads of different bits of data that actually by themselves mean nothing, and when you put them together, actually are solving a massive problem. The Climate Corp were backed by Google. They were bought for $1 billion last year, which is insane. And what they do is they realized in the next 20 years we're going to have 2 billion more people on this planet, and we can't feed them. We don't have the resource to feed them. So they've taken information like weather, soil data, precipitation, all this random pieces of data, and put it together and created software for farmers so they can increase their yield. And that's probably why they were bought for $1 billion. But when you look at this in more detail, the amount of data that they use is phenomenal. It's 200 terabytes of data. It's a lot. But then when you look at this compared to advertising, this is how much we're processing a day. Every company out there is processing a lot more data. It's because the advertising industry gets data from so many different points, and up for a very long time we were collecting it, but we weren't making sense of it. If you look at this standard website, the URL is data, the context of the site is data, ad location, creative type, you could go on and on. I was being retargeted by Peppa Pig, by the way. That's very good. And so the good thing is, and this is the bit that we've solved through the use of technology, up until recently, all of this data we weren't able to use it. But then 2009, this thing happened where this ad exchange was created. And this whole change to advertising happened, this whole revolution happened. And really, to put this in real simple terms, if any of you go to a website today, there's a really high chance that all the ads you see on that site are being traded in real time. So they're actually being auctioned while your page is loading. And there's a bunch of companies out there, like us, who are bidding to show you right ad, right place, right time, using data. And that's a phenomenal change to the industry. Which means we're starting to ask the right questions. Right? For those of you that bought and sold media, you probably know what this is. This is an ad server report. For the best part of 20 years, this was all you would get back from a display campaign. It tells you how many impressions you delivered, your click-through rate, and really doesn't tell you too much. But now we're moving to a place where we're starting to clump all this data together and make sense of it. Like, we're starting to ask how many new customers are we reaching? Are they visiting my website? Are those visitors then going on to convert? How long did it take them to convert? Did they convert when they first visited the website, or do they need to come back? Do we need to target them again? All these data points by themselves mean nothing. But when you put them together, you start to get a really good story about your customers and the path to conversion. So going back to my title, more technology, more problems. We've solved a lot, we've also created a lot. So if you ask any advertiser these days what their top 10 challenges, these 3 probably are in there somewhere, right? And I've picked them out because I think they're going to change the game in the next year or so, and it already is. Attribution, so we're now at a point where we are able to measure pretty much most things through the use of digital. And if you are able to look at your path to conversion, you're actually able to see all the ads that you deliver and see whether that one ad deflected someone's trajectory a little bit towards buying a product. or going to your website or doing anything, which is pretty insane. The viewability, I'm sure someone will talk about it today on stage if they haven't already. The idea of doing a lot in this space to kind of create standards for this, but really the key here is that we're now able to measure whether someone saw an ad or not. We were never able to measure whether someone saw a TV ad or heard a radio ad or saw a billboard or a poster. This is a massive change to the industry, and as we move forward, and as we're finding out as a company, we're moving forward to buying more viewable ads. So optimizing towards people that are just seeing ads, rather than
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats and welcome aboard.
Okay, I'm going to go fast. Brand safety, everyone knows that. Okay.
That's 5 minutes, thank you.
Oh, we've got 5 minutes. So anyway, I'll go back to this. Brand safety is a massive challenge, and actually technology is solving this challenge, where we're able to actually right now get to a place where we can minimize the risk through the use of technology of ads ending up on sites that they shouldn't end up on, which actually for a very long time in the digital world we weren't able to do. Right? So I'm almost out of time, as you've heard. So what I want to say is, and this is my kind of philosophical bit at the end, if you were to go back to 1904 with the first banner ad, and you were to tell people that actually we're going to have this whole real-time bidding thing, or we're going to have a mobile phone in our pockets, or we're going to be able to look at maps and stocks and every PDF in the world will be every manual in the world, they think you're kind of crazy, right? And they'd probably say there's no economics for it. So we get kind of obsessed with our own industry, and I have to take myself away from it a lot to try and think about it in a different way. But if you look at in the next 20 years, we're going to think that this was literally just the beginning of the beginning. Like we're at this point where things are changing, and that's what the exciting bit. So the bit I want to leave everyone with is keep going for that utopia, because we will get there at some point, and I'll stop being targeted by Pepper Pig because my wife used my machine for one day. Don't be afraid to test, because I know it's quite a scary place, but if you test, you start to figure stuff out. So that's what I leave you with. And please come to our stand. Thank you.
We've only just begun.